I thought you had your yarmulke on and you're ready to roll.
That's how I thought too.
No, I thought you were leaving already.
Yeah?
Because you had your yarmulke on.
Yeah.
You have a place there already?
To sleep?
Yeah.
To daven? To eat? Everything's good.
Except for the tree.
Just gotta get there.
When you go to where Rabbi Schechter is, you go to the Shiners, no?
I'm going to daven Hanetz by Shiners in the first day, and then I'm going to daven Nekuda Tova, Musaf, and the second day, the whole Nekuda Tova.
What's Nekuda Tova?
It's ex-Americans that live in Tzfat.
What about
I'm going with my friends.
Rabbi Shik's
There's hundreds of minyan. I might go to the Chabad.
There's a Satmar Minyan there also.
There is a Satmar Minyan actually.
There's a fellow here from Rosh, not Satmar, and he goes.
There's a Bell's whole apartment building. All Bell's guys.
Bells?
Yeah. Sure. Blue towels, blue stripes. Yeah, I walk around there.
Okay. Over here we're going to deal with one of the main distinctions between a Sfard Minyan and Ashkenaz Minyan. Is by Tekiya Shofar. Pashtis ein toikim al seida brachos b'tfilas lachash. You don't blow shofar when you do the quiet Shemona Esrei during Musaf. Mispalin nusach Sfard nahag l'koi gam b'tfilas lachash. So what exactly is this great distinction between Nusach Ashkenaz and Nusach Sfard? It's a Shulchan Aruch Siman Tov Kasai Beis says Machs Shlichtzeh B'Tfilah B'Toikim Al Seida Brochus Ad Kan. By Chazoras Hashatz, everybody does it on the Malchi Zechorinish and Shofars. Magen Avram brings down Yesh Mekaymish Nahag L'Koish B'Am B'Lachish Ve'in Linekem L'Chatchil. That's how the Magen Avram states it. V'chein kosim shal shuz mashdam b'shulchan aruch harav hetik divrei HaMagen Avram b'zeh halosh u'lefi shetfilas musa b'lachish kol echad ve'ech mispal atzmoi ve'in echad misayim b'chosu b'shosh chaver misayim. The halacha lefi v'chein toikim b'tfilas u'k'moi she'en toikim b'yachad k'moi she's bayim. You don't do it, the blowing of the shofar, like privately. Only later on. However, the Shulchan Aruch Harav says, "Yesh b'koymish nehag l'koyish shnei pa'amim echad b'tfilas lachash ve'echad b'zoros hashas amok shem minig enin ken chatchil." Chen kosim shnebru mat Ephraim heid. Shebroy bekomis nahayim shlo itchlei klal be'emes tfilas lachash v'rak mixes yichidi school in the Hagen. Only some people do by the Shtil Shemona Esrei also. V'hine b'tzei amad derech b'zeh v'kosev sheminig koye b'lachash mefurish b'aruch. It's in the Aruch hu b'toisvis Rosh HaShana v'gam hu b'sikta pashas Emma v'chein hu api Ariza. Al ken b'vadai Yisoidosoi to go and blow during the Shtil Shemona Esrei Bahari Kodesh. There's a Yisoid for it. Shul Shoyel Meishin Kosim Shigam because the Gedol Hiskid Devar Patoisis of the Loch Gosh Inland again. We can't love you Rayim and Devraim. However, by Sham Shev Yoid Raish and Kovetz Lachash, I am Hiskid Oilam, Shalshus Avneza. Doch Rayim and Devraim Aruch and Kosim Gamu Shem Kovetz Lachash. However, what we do is we do a B'tulas Lachash, because that's the meaning of the minute Svart. This is a little bit of what I would call, the way he brings it down over here is a little bit one-sided, this fellow.
Actually, they do tons of koilas later.
Yeah, they have to do it because they're missing Meir Koilas. We get to the magic number of 100 because we do it during the Shlosh Mon Esrei. Therefore, by the Kaddish to Skabel, we only had there's only 10 Koilas. But if you go with the Minig Ashkenazi, they go ahead and do another 30 koilas because they have to make up for what we do during the quiet Shemon Esrei.
Plus 10.
Huh?
Plus 10.
No. They do then, and then I think they do it by another Kaddish the rest. No? I think by the Enkel Cain, something like that. I'm not that. I don't have that.
You want to get to the 100 koilas, why? Because of the.
That's exactly what we're going to talk about now. Why is there Meir Koilas? Again, yesterday we mentioned you yoytze with the Raisa on the first at Kistam Yusha, the first 30 koilas. This is only what we call a minig that we do it on Machas Zechariah Sheriffs as well. And however, Nahagim Litkoyim Meir Koilas, we enacted to do 100 within Zeniskim B'Tzibah Shetoikim Al Seida Brochos. Aber Yochel Shemeet Kis, but we say Shemeel Seida Brochos ain't so lachs Achar Sheifa Kedei L'Shmei Meir Koilas. You don't have to do Meir Koilas. Now, where's the source of this? It's brought down. Shulchan Aruch Siman Kuf Tzadik Sif Aleph and Beis Kamet Kis Chayvod Mishmoya Rosh HaShana Teisha. If you should never true, like we said, Gimel Palmer B'Chol True Pshuta F'Nei L'Achreu. If we are Shmuel London Shekol True Chay Shviya Teisha Tekiyas. So therefore, we had this yesterday. We do it. It's Teruah Tekiya Teruah Tekiya. Is True's no more return. Stop on he Hil Shanu Karim True. Oyim he Mashan Karim Shvarim. Oyim he. We went through all of this. And we say, which we mentioned yesterday as well, you do a true gedoyli calls of Yishma. Koyim Nahagim Lachsel Koy Shloishim Koylis. Ubishla Kosel Koyim Meir Koylis. The Shla is the one that brings down that you have to do Meir Koylis. Faniski B'Toisis or Rosh B'Shem Aruch Shlo Yitokim Meir Koylis. Why? Kenegid Meir Pois Shepasi Ime de Sisra. Did Zahu Mishnaburu Baruch HaShulchan. From Sisra, that he got a lot of things. You have honey?
Honey and splendor.
V'zeh loshen matna Afraim. Hagnahagim l'tkoya amalchis v'chenzrod v'neshofis v'hoz k'shemesam sh'kasi b'atfila koya shemas l'tzir v'nagim kaddish t'skabel oilam hamakar v'tekel abim v'tekel again shalosh pa'am v'shem shloshim t'kiyas. They do it 30 times. Because they don't have what we do in Shlosh Mon Esrei. And they say in Kilakenu, for us, that's how they do in Ashkenaz. So, when we do only 10 koilis, by the Kaddish Tiskabel, they do 30 koilis. And then, after Enkelakenu and Aleinu, and they do Kaddish Yosem, afterwards they do another 10. It comes to the 100. But this is brought down. But it's all only an argument at Kohen's Chazal. It's not from a din from the Torah.
It's after Chazal.
It's after Chazal. All right, yeah, but I mean Chazal. Yeah, Shloach. No, this Tosis mentions also the Rosh, Shem Aruch. Rosh b'shem Aruch. Yeah. So it comes from the Shlon, Taisus, and okay. Okay, one more halacha. He's not here, Joe Jacobson. He had a whole thing about this. Let's learn this halacha. Rosh HaShana shechali is b'Shabbos. I'm not going to mention a word about those shittas that say you can. What? This ain't talking b'shoifim him over taka nechor achronin ikayim it's a shoifim. How? And there's no mention over here that there's such a minhag to do it. I don't know where it. He says that there is. Who was it?
That's not Schlesinger.
Schlesinger, they said.
From Muncie?
No, from Muncie. It was oh. No. Close but no cigar. Nobody mentions it. Okay, another sidebar for everybody's legeya. We know there's what's called Tekiyas de Miyushiv and what's called Tekiyas de Me'umit. Tekiyas de Miyushiv is the one we don't sit, but they're called the proprietor. Most of us sitting, and then there's Tekiyas de Me'umit. Is the halacha tzarich l'tkayim Me'umit. When you blow shofar, actual blowing, you do it standing up. Even the one who's listening to the Kiyah Shofar, he has to be standing at the time when they blow the shofar. Also, even the brachas, even though the mice it's a brichas hamitzvahs, and all brichas hamitzvahs we know is supposed to be done mu'umid, but it goes without saying. The din amidit kiyas hine medina saigrim masha oinu b'shas kiyas dem umid l'chem b'tkiyas dem yushiv and rights leishin b'shoy machshan ha'aglam agab b'tkiyas dem yushiv. However, because of this is where I want to get to. So we do it standing, right? Everybody knows that. It's important to remember this. You're not supposed to lean on any item while the shofar blowing is going on, but often in a fashion, meaning, let's say you have a nice tall stender in front of you, and you're getting tired after all, you've been davening for so long, standing up, and you start, when the Baltukei is blowing shofar, you figure, now's a good time to relax a little bit and I'll lean on the stender. So the halacha is that if you lean so hard that if they would pull away the stender, you would fall down technically because you don't have your support. The halacha is it's not the proper thing to do. The cholzehu b'tkiyas the mu'umit. This is by the Tekiyas of Mo'umid, meaning during Shmoneh Esrei.
It's still Yotzei.
We'll see shortly. Avu b'Tekiyas the Miyushiv, the Tekiyas before Musa, given them a din in Tzarech Lam, Tekiyas Miyushiv, Shabbat Dominus B'chem, then it's not problematic. But Lamais, at the end of the day, it's not the proper thing to do. So let's go into this a little bit more in detail. Shulchan Aruch Siman Tuf Kopehei Tzarech L'Tkayim Mu'umid Ad Kan. That when you go here shofar, talking about the Shmoneh Esrei Tekiyas, you have to do it standing up. Because of Hamagen Avram, the nearly the Takim Yushiv Yoitza. If you did it sitting, Nishkefelich. The shofar Yafim Ma'ayma. Because you learn out this halacha from Oimo, U'ba'oimo Gufa Yotz Ad Kan. V'chein Kozmat Ephraim, U'mishna Brua Shem Takim Yushiv Yotz the Cross Machta Ba'al Mahu. This pasuk that you have to do, the Ketziris Oimo we're talking about, You do it when you're harvesting, you do it standing up. But Ma'aseh Halacha, you learn out from there, is only a L'chatchil not a B'diyah. And because of HaMogen Avram, the Mogen Avram writes here these famous words. You don't lean on anything that if you would move that object, you would fall. That's what's brought down. Oh, I'll tell you, this halacha I remember as a youngster as well. And I can tell you, normally, okay, you think about leaning on, but you know that you're not supposed to lean, and that's when your feet get tired, and you feel like you want to lean and you know you can't lean. That's always the psychologically how a person thinks. Says halacha like this. Let's say you have two Bali Dinim. If Bezin wants to let them be seated, they can be seated, but not one higher, closer, and one lower. They have to be seated, the two Bali Dinim, both the plaintiff and the defendant, next to each other. When you go ahead and you read the verdict, people say testimony is supposed to do standing. Over there, there's a halacha that's brought down in Choshen Mishpat, not in our Chaim, that it is considered standing. Because of Asma, the Mekar Ramohu, Rivosh, because of the Kivan Din Amidu Midrabanon, Asmach the Baalma, and came Amida Ayesmicha from Chatchilanam. Therefore, it's good enough. Because of Abirkas Yosef, Lufizeh, Mud Chatchilan Smabtiki Shaifet, Din Amida B'Shaifet, Srius Aima, counting of the Oimer is over there, not the Srius Aima, but the Srius Aima. Havanam Asmach the Baalma, that you have to go ahead and do Ba'amida. Bain Sham Shikos Shemitam Zel Hiska Haramo B'Shechanor Chesdivrei Maril Shikos of Dostas Mapitki Shaif. Therefore, the Ramah doesn't mention it because technically this whole halacha that you're not allowed to lean, even though it's brought down in Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah doesn't mention it. Why doesn't Ramah go along with it? Because at the end of the day, he says it's no different than Eidus, and also we Srius Ha'im. However, Ach B'Shat Siyan, because of the Av, Shebrikis Yosef, Nisad Lokal Binyaneinu B'Zuat Smicha, Lahet Tikir B'Fnim, Mishum Derab Machroinim Etiku Dibra Magen Avram La'alocha. It's a famous halacha that you can't even lean on your stender. Mikol Mokim Mokim Atchat Mir Denuchalus Machalzeh. V'chein Kosev B'das Torah, V'gam B'divya Birkis Yosef V'shel Ayin, the Ivrisha Ramah Lo Higi Klub B'Shulchan Aruch, even though technically the Ramah, who didn't say a word about this in Shulchan Aruch, however, we know who wrote the Darkei Moshe. The Darkei Moshe was written by who? By the Ramah. So the question is, after part of the Darkei Moshe, Shapeh B'divim Maril, Sha'aslas Meputki Shayfa B'loi, Lahayir Olav Klum, he doesn't say anything differently. Avram, Magen Avram, no Kitshir Ramah, Maskim B'divim Maril Adina, that's how he held. That's why Magen Avram brings it down. Because the Chodesh is that how can this be stated that you can't lean? It's contradictory to what he says, which you mentioned by Eidus, the din amidu who asmachta midrabanan, and therefore mutar lechatchal yidei smicha. So you have a contradiction between Chodesh Mishpat and Orach Chaim, how to go according to this. That he's saying that Ein Chanami, you're supposed to not, you shouldn't be able to lean. Rebbe Shish L'chalek, the Hosen Den Amid Nismach Mikrod Deva Omdu. Ubezeh, Shapa V'smicha V'chal Amid. It says V'omdu Shnei Anoshim L'fnei Hashem. So it says they're supposed to stand. So you can say that leaning, standing is also good. Asher Ein Kain B'shoifet Samchinin Din Amida Ad Rosh Debekuma Yishloim Ezel Mafkiya Gam Smicha. It says he's supposed to do it Bekuma. The Afila Ismicha B'chal Amida Al Kaponim Ein Bekuma. It's not considered with your full upright way. So he said, Lamaisa, what comes out? Or Shmuel says over here, keep the Mashaminim with keys from Yeshu, Rak Nemagabam, V'loi Medina. V'chein Pashat Shev Shalakul, Nismach B'shas Keys from Yeshu. When it comes to the Keys from Yeshu, Lamaisa, at the end of the day, you can lean if you need to. Keys from Omid, I wouldn't advise anybody to lean. Best to be Mahadr. Yes.
So all these detailed halachas seem to point in a basic direction, which is that either my initial thought would have been, well, the shofar is supposed to wake me up, and by nature I'm going to stand. But this is saying, no, I'm actually supposed to, the shofar might not wake me up, and I am still obligated to fight the yetzer of my body in order to stand up. Which sounds like what the halachas are saying.
I don't know if that's the concept here. It's from Psukim. And when you learn from Psukim, it's a mitzvah, like there's a mitzvah, Birchas HaMitzvahs that he says also to stand. When you do a Birchas HaMitzvahs, you're supposed to stand. When you do light the candles, you stand. Right? You can do sitting. You can light your candles on Hanukkah sitting.
So why
It says nothing. You want to say philosophically, we don't go with that. I mean, there are reasons why it's done, but you can't go and say, that's the way it's done because of this reason. I don't know.
Why? So if it's because of Birchas HaMitzvah, why stand by Tzkiyas and Shofar? Why have a chiyuv to stand by Tzkiyas? Because
it says it is a mitzvah of Amdu. It's Chazal, bring down Psukim. Sources of Psukim. The question if these Psukim are asmachta ba'alma or not. Are they something that is engraved in stone, or it's an asmachta? And since it's an asmachta, you can say it's l'chatchil to be done that way. But if you don't do it that way, we're not going to say you're going to get brownie points by not doing it that way. But at the end of the day, the question is, what's the proper way? You do a mitzvah, you want to do it in the proper fashion. You want to have the proper kavanah, even though it's saying tzrichas kavanah. You still say do the mitzvah with the kavanah, with the proper intention, with the proper concentration. Same fashion over here. Over here, there's a question when it says v'hamna. It says it's a shofar. When you hear it, whether it's obligatory to stand, and that he's saying we don't have to say that.
Mitzvahs don't need kavanah.
So at the end of the day, most mitzvahs, there's a couple exceptions. Don't get me wrong. That you might say they need kavanah, but in most instances, yes, mitzvahs and tzrichas kavanah.
So
at the end of the day, are you going to be a shining star? Absolutely not. But at the end of the day, you don't have to have kavanah. So if let's say you pick up a lulav, unbeknownst to you,
sure,
and you shake it, and you do it, and you didn't even realize you picked it up, then there's a whole question if you can make a bracha on the lulav, because you already shook the lulav. If everything's coming in, that's how it is. What can I tell you? Okay, we'll stop over here. We'll continue mentioning tomorrow. Vaita, we'll go more into intricacies about how things are done with Kiyush Shofar, and the famous question: if you can blow shofar, can you go and blow shofar? Do you have an obligation to blow by yourself? Because or not? Rebbe Chananya ben Akash Amar Tzvah V'Zak Yisrael L'Finchem Der Mitzvah Shenam Adonai Chovetz